Good morning. It is 9:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. We got a jam-packed show for you today. My friend Josh Tifo, who's a senior director for Turning Point USA, will be in studio at 11 o'clock. My friend Jeff Younger is going to be in to share his unbelievable story with us at 10 a.m. Jeff has been on the show before. He is the guy who lost a custody battle with his wife and now has to sit by and watch as she transitions his son against his will. It's a wild story and one that I'm excited to share with you again, and we're going to have Jeff in studio to detail that story. So we are absolutely looking forward to that. I do want to give an update real quick. I've been texting with Joanna Daniels, who you may remember was on the show yesterday, and she's been on the show a few times. Joanna was on the board of the libraries in Sumner County, and she was going to be removed. Is how it broke down because she had been raising so much stink about the books in the kids section that promote transgender ideology. So that meeting happened last night. And I was texting with Joanna this morning, and she said it was an unbelievable turnout. Over 100 people showed up, a lot of people wearing red. They sat through 2 hours of comments because so many people signed up to speak about the library board. She said it was crazy. She said when they finally got to business, it was about 11:30 at night. Now, they argued back and forth for an hour, Joanna tells me, and they voted to not keep her on the board, which is unbelievable. She made too much noise, and they wanted to get rid of her. Now, in a stunning event, a stunning turn of events that you can only describe as a God intervention, there was a new member of the board appointed. Let me back up real quick. They wanted to shrink the board from 9 seats to 7. That didn't go through because of all the public support of you guys showing up to that meeting. And they still voted, though, to remove Joanna because she was making too much noise. She was she was not taking no for an answer. She was coming on this show and airing the grievances, and that made people too uncomfortable. But in a stunning turn of events, when they voted to remove Joanna, they had to get somebody new on the Sumner County Library Board. Well, you know who was in attendance last night? Riley Gaines. Riley Gaines was then nominated, and Riley Gaines is now filling that seat of Joanna Daniels on the library board.
I love it.
Is that not amazing?
That is the best.
So you got rid of a woman because she was making too much noise and causing too much of a dust up, right? And then you got somebody with an even louder voice in her place. Tell me that's not the Lord working.
It's providential.
Isn't that amazing?
Yep.
Riley Gaines is on the board now. Wild. Congratulations to the Rhinos and the Liberals. You played yourself. So this is going to be something very fun that we will be paying close attention to in the coming weeks. Congratulations, Riley. As if a new mom, a Turning Point USA contributor, a absolute lightning rod for all things conservatism, as if she didn't need anything else going on, right? She wasn't busy enough. Here's a library board position. Remember that keep that in the back of your mind when you go, I'm too busy for this. I can't take up this task today. Riley Gaines did, which is just unbelievable. So congratulations to Riley. She was nominated on the floor and voted in. Huge. That's all I got on that. And truly, shout out to Joanna Daniels. I know she was removed from the board, but her fight will continue now, and there's going to be a much louder microphone in the room. So that is unbelievable. Unbelievable. So that was a big win locally. Yesterday, nationally, we got a big win for the Trump administration as well. The Ninth Circuit Court says that Trump can deploy the National Guard to Portland, Oregon. What's that, you say? Yep, President Trump, this is from the New York Post. President Trump can move forward with his plan to deploy National Guard troops to Portland. An appeals court ruled on Monday in a major legal victory for the administration. A 3-member panel of the Ninth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals delivered the 2-1 decision, striking down one of the two temporary restraining orders issued by lower courts that had halted the National Guard deployment into the ultra-woke city. Judges Ryan Nelson and Judge Bridget Bade, both appointed by Trump, sided with the president, who has continued to push for the federal troops in Democrat-led cities. They said, after consulting the record at this preliminary stage, we conclude that it is likely that the president lawfully exercised his statutory authority under 10 U.S.C. Section 124063, which authorizes the federalization of the National Guard when the president is unable with the regular forces to execute the laws of the United States, the majority said. During oral arguments, Nelson added that it may well be that the forces are used in an improper way, but claimed that the court didn't have evidence of that. The lone dissenter was a judge appointed by Bill Clinton. Federal judge in Oregon previously blocked the National Guard deployment in early October. The judge cited Trump's decision as being untethered to reality. You tell me who's untethered to reality. I'll tell you what, the libs on MSNBC are a bit untethered to reality. They were melting down yesterday as this decision came down. And I'm here. I'm here for salt mining. I'm here for delicious, salty liberal tears. So let's listen to MSNBC after this decision came down.
Something and then explain why functionally it is the same. This is a stay of Judge Immergut's opinion, and that's why it reached the Ninth Circuit as soon as it did, because this is an emergency motion to essentially pause her order. But as a functional matter, you are absolutely correct. It has the function of overturning her order and thereby allowing the president to send the National Guard back onto the streets of Portland. And Katie, I want to read, if I can, just from a little bit of the beginning of this 93-page opinion. It says, after considering the record, and by the record they mean all the factual evidence at this preliminary stage, we conclude that it is likely that the president lawfully exercised his statutory authority under 10 U.S.C. Section 12406. That's the statute we've been referring to as Title 10 when we have conversations about the National Guard deployments, which authorizes the federalization of the National Guard when the president is unable with the regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. And this is the important part. The evidence the president relied on reflects, quote, a colorable assessment of the facts and law within a range of honest judgment. We thus conclude that defendants are likely to succeed on the merits of their appeal, basically saying that when and if a court considers all of the record in this matter is tried and it gets back to an appellate court through an ordinary process where they have full briefing and full evidence, that they still think Donald Trump is likely to prevail there, because he has the discretion to determine as the president within a range of honest judgment when it is reasonable to deploy the Guard.
So salty, so unbelievably salty. But that's Democrats for you. We were talking a moment ago about what happened last night in Sumner County on the library board. And joining us now on the hotline is none other than my friend Riley Gaines, to comment on that. Here, Louie, we can just put her through, man. Don't worry about all that. We can just we'll just put her on hold, and I'll get her on this side. So Riley Gaines, Turning Point USA contributor, Fox News contributor, brand new mom. Congratulations, by the way. And now, if you weren't busy enough, Riley, you're on the library board.
I sure am, and let me tell you, I am so excited about this. Of all of the different accolades and titles that you just read off, outside of mom now being the best, our little daughter is 3 weeks old now. Truthfully, I'm most excited about this new appointment to the library board. I have done so much work over the past few years, I think at the national level, I would say, and it's stemmed down, of course, and we've seen lots of movement from the states following, especially the leadership of President Trump, but what I have seen firsthand to be true is that grassroots efforts and what is happening locally and in your own community matters far more than what's going on in Washington, D.C. So to be a part of this effort, my hometown, where I'm born and raised, where I hope to continue to raise our little daughter and hopefully many more kids to come, just very, very excited about this opportunity.
Amen. And God bless you for doing it. I mean, like, I know personally how busy you are. And to do this, it's no small undertaking. It's definitely going to take some of your time. So, like, I salute you for that. But I think it's so funny that they tried to get rid of Joanna Daniels because she was causing too much of a dust-up. And it's such a God thing that when you remove somebody for making too much noise, that you get somebody that can make even more noise. Have you thought about that at all?
You know, it's funny. First of all, let me just speak to Joanna really quickly. She is someone who, when I kind of, a few years back, like, I'll be totally honest, I was totally naive to how everything worked at all levels. Like I say this entirely transparently. Like, I wasn't really sure how to be effective with making change. But you have those people in your life who come in and help explain it to you and highlight the important things, what needs to get done. At the local level, that has been Joanna. She has been fantastic. We had a little tiff at the Hendersonville Library with Kirk Cameron a few years back, and she was there from the very beginning to kind of help advance change following that as it pertained to the Hendersonville Library director. So what she has been able to do for the community and how she's been able to impact and changes for good, I could not be more grateful for her, and I don't tell her often, just with the busy lives and things going on, but she has been fantastic, and this community is indebted to her, truthfully, especially
Amen.
those with kids. And I will say, yeah, like, I've received some pushback even this week for calling one of the school board members out locally here. As I'm sure your listeners, I'm sure you have seen, where it's been this big thing where they want to change Christmas break to winter break. We had Charlie Kirk Day just last week, and some members had some choice things to say or not say about that. And so in highlighting some of the actions of these board members, the response that we've gotten, how we've seen people turn around from it. So even the turnout that we saw last night at the commissioner meeting was incredible. And so I think that's what happens when you shine light on the things that deserve to have light shown on them.
Yep. And these squishy Republicans, they can't take that at all. They don't want this attention. They don't want the light shined on what's going on behind the scenes here. And I think that you are absolutely the perfect person to just bring a magnifying glass and expose all that. So shout out to you for doing this.
Well, thank you. And I will say, who needs Democrats when you've got the rhinos like we do in Sumner County?
Honestly, with friends like these, who needs enemies? Well, Riley Gaines is newly appointed to the library board of Sumner County. What's the next step for you with the library board? Where do we go from here?
Well, as I said, from the national level, we have seen President Trump impact great change as it pertains to not having taxpayer-funded woke ideology in these educational settings and government settings, one of those being public libraries. We even passed a law here in the state of Tennessee to prevent that. But again, it's actually gone back since February. I think some of these books coming out of the Sumner County libraries have been highlighted and brought to the attention of the board members, to which they have done nothing about it. And not for lack of trying on the part of the Republicans, the real Republicans, but again, you have lots of rhinos and Democrats who are actively working against this and working against concerned citizens and concerned parents. So that here in Sumner County is what we're focused on, passing this policy to prevent this garbage and this filth from being in our libraries and kids having access to it. Again, following state law, which is crazy that we have to say that. The law is already in place, but it's up to us, again, even concerned parents, concerned citizens, bringing this to our attention so we can make sure we're holding everyone accountable. Well,
hey, I'm grateful for the work that you're doing. Riley, keep us updated on everything, will you please?
Absolutely, Chris, and I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All day, and congratulations on the baby. I mean, everything else is so secondary, but I've seen the pictures, and adorable. Huge congrats.
She's an angel. Thank you, Chris.
Hey, thank you. Riley Gaines joining us. It's 9:22. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friend Brink Fiddler over at Defense Systems. I've taken the training at Defense Systems, and I got to tell you, it is unbelievable. Totally incredible. You're actually going to learn real-life skills that could save someone's life, and I don't want to have to use these skills, full disclosure. I pray that I never have to use them, but I'm so grateful I have them. Like, what do you do if somebody gets shot in the arm? Do you know that it's different if somebody gets shot in the chest? Like, these are things that you learn in a real life scenario with your friends at Defense Systems. They're a life safety and security consulting firm. They specialize in physical security and active violence mitigation training. And they've trained everybody, schools, corporations, law firms, even country music tours. They trained our whole staff here at Cumulus Nashville. And it's not just check the box training. You're learning how to do real things. You ever put a tourniquet on? I have, thanks to my friends at Defense Systems. They've trained over 30 Middle Tennessee schools. And I got to ask you, has your kid's school had this training yet? If the answer is no, I honestly think that you should look into it, because if you were a loved one with critically injured, would you know what to do? Like we don't want to think about these situations spilling over into everyday places, but they do. Be ready just in case. Don't wait until it's too late. Visit defensesystems.com or call 615-236-6484. That's 615-236-6484. Defensesystems.com.
Coming up here, he crashed his car. Now ICE has just taken custody of an 18-year-old. Also, CNN is up for sale. What was just announced this morning? We've got that and more coming up here at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'd rather buy oceanfront property in Arizona, Jen. That's what I would do. I'd rather buy a bridge in San Francisco.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things I'd rather spend money on.
But imagine somebody could buy it and change it into something respectable.
Maybe. Maybe. There's only like a handful of guys that could do that.
Yeah.
And we've actually only seen it done once with Elon Musk and Twitter.
Yeah, that's true.
Like this is something that's only happened once. So I don't know.
Maybe Elon Musk would be interested
Maybe.
in CNN.
XNN. They'd have to change the name. And then they'd have to get rid of so many people.
Lots.
Yeah. Caitlin Collins. Oh my gosh. Terrible. Still better than MSNBC, though. Still better. Hey, so just to remind everybody, there is another board meeting in Sumner County. The Sumner County guys are fired up after getting Riley Gaines on the library board. They're saying that was a serious case of FAFO in real time. But they got another school board meeting tonight. This one is about changing Christmas break to winter break. How dare you say Merry Christmas? How dare you? So that's the meeting tonight. They're asking for everybody to show up and show out as well. We got a lot to get to today on the show. Very excited to have Jeff Younger joining us at 10 a.m. Jeff has an unbelievable story. It's heartbreaking in all honesty, and Jeff has a lot of strength to be able to even share this story. I don't know if I would be able to. He found himself in a divorce and then a custody battle, which he lost. And after the custody battle, his wife decided to transition his son against his will. Jeff is going to be joining us at 10 a.m. to talk about that, and we'll dive in to all the specifics with Jeff. Also on the way, we'll talk a little bit more about what happened in Portland with the Ninth Circuit Court saying Trump can deploy the National Guard. Leftists are salty everywhere, and we'll dive into a little bit of the government shutdown. Hang out with us. A lot to get to right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is now 9:30, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. There's an accident to tell you about, 65 in the southbound lanes, just past Concord Road. This is in Brentwood. You've got an accident that takes out two right lanes. They're blocked off there. In the news, Senate Democrats voted against reopening the federal government again yesterday, the 11th time, and now more federal workers have been let go.
This morning, after 1,400 federal workers tasked with safeguarding the country's nuclear stockpile were abruptly furloughed, only 400 now left.
ABC's Jay Bryan. Officials are also warning Democrats that food assistance programs like SNAP are in danger of drying up at the end of the month. ICE has taken into custody an 18-year-old who led Metro Nashville police on a high-speed chase last week and then crashed his car on I-24. Varela Dubon is in the U.S. illegally from his home country of Honduras. After the crash, police found 3 handguns and a rifle in the car. One of those handguns had been stolen. Dubon was in possession of burglary tools, too, and police suspect he's behind a string of burglaries and thefts in Davidson County. CNN is up for sale. Parent company Warner Brothers Discovery said it's putting itself up for sale despite being in talks with Paramount Skydance to purchase the entire entity. Netflix and Comcast are likely candidates here. Earlier this year, Warner Brothers Discovery announced plans to split into 2 separate entities, a streaming and studios business and a global networks business. That's the side that CNN would be on. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here, and I'm talking to you about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. If you're living with pain, you understand you don't have to. And if you're tired of that back pain or neck pain ruining your life, well, listen up, because this could change everything for you, and it's not going to break the bank. It's called the Big Daddy Trump Special. You've heard us talking about it for weeks, and we're going to keep talking about it until you take advantage of it. Just $12 $12 is going to land you a full exam, x-rays if needed, a well-explained diagnosis, and your first treatment. You heard me right. You're getting all that for just $12. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, they're not going to give up on getting you back to a pain-free life, and they have done this with so many people in Middle Tennessee already. What are you waiting for? They're not going to give up on you. It doesn't matter what you're dealing with. Back pain, neck pain, sciatica, numbness, bulging discs. They'll treat it all. Now, you might be thinking, I don't want surgery. Well, good. They're not going to offer that. You might be thinking, like, I'm not into needles. I don't need a painful injection. Good. Neither is Dr. Ashley or Dr. Mitchell. They're not offering that. And you might be thinking, I don't need opioids. Perfect. You were in the right place. That is not an option as well. What they're going to do is treat it all with non-surgical spinal decompression, robot lasers, and even anti-gravity machines. You're not going to find the surgery, the injections, the painkillers. It's time to grab your MRI and get ready to finally understand your condition and fix it. 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009, or find them online, painisbad.com. It's 9:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. The left is so mad. Donald Trump won a big court victory yesterday, Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, saying, no, actually, turns out you can deploy the National Guard into Portland. But they're furious. people in Portland, Democrats, are still saying that there's no issue in Portland. This is completely overblown. This is a right-wing conspiracy theory. And I would say, is it, though? Is it? We've seen what's been happening. Months, if not years, if you want to go all the way back to the Summer of Love. This city has been under siege by groups like Antifa, by radical, violent leftists. And they'll tell us you're imagining things. I mean, the local politicians out there, they'll post pictures of just like a tree in a meadow and be like, nothing going on here. Everything's fine. I could do that too. I could do that too. But when you talk to people that are actually on the ground in Portland, it's a completely different story. We've had Jonathan Cho on the show, who's a fantastic investigative journalist. He's been doxxed so many times. He shows up to one of these protests. They know him instantly. They're spray painting his address on the buildings so that way other members can go to his home and harass him and threaten him. You've seen what's happened to Andy Ngo. Andy Ngo almost had his life ended by these same groups, but they'll tell you this is just an idea. This isn't even real. Independent journalist Nick Sorter was down in Portland yesterday on the heels of this decision by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And he went, guys, this is legit. And he now requires his own private security to even be moving about in the city. This is Nick Sorter yesterday on Fox.
Yeah, and Sean, that's why now I'm all the way down the street with 3 armed security guards because, even though it's early in the day and the real large group of rioters aren't out here yet, they're still tremendously dangerous and there are no cops in sight. None of them at all. And, I have really bad news for all these people out here that screamed and whined all weekend. Donald Trump is still your president. I've independently confirmed that. So sorry to tell them that. Nothing has changed. Except today we had a huge win in the appeals court, as we knew. The appeals court lifted the block that an activist judge out here in Portland put on the National Guard being deployed to this facility out here. They try to act like this is peaceful out here, Sean. But if you look at the windows in the background of the ICE facility, or I'm sorry, the lack thereof, because they've been broken out by these rioters in over the past 100+ days, they're out here constantly. They never go away. I don't know if there's anything peaceful about breaking windows, setting fires in the road. Maybe I'm just wrong on that. I don't know.
It's mostly peaceful fires, if we're being honest. It's the peaceful variation. And those windows, maybe those windows said something that they deserved it. Maybe the windows said something racist, and they deserved what they got. Maybe. But this is what they tell us. There's nothing going on here. You guys are conspiracy theorists. Stop talking about it. Go away. And if you don't, well, you may encounter some violence. Huh. That's weird. Nick Sorter continues.
Correct me.
What did you see this weekend, Nick?
Utter lawlessness. I mean, they sent out Portland police and Oregon state troopers out here that were given commands from the top to retreat every single time that things got dicey. And the people of Oregon, now keep in mind, this is an American city.
Yep.
These people deserve better. They are victims of the government's total refusal to keep them safe, enforce noise ordinances. I mean, you hear these horns honking all day. This building right behind me is an apartment complex that houses veterans and young parents, and none of them are able to get the noise ordinances enforced. They are victims of the system.
Victims of the system. Could you imagine living in an apartment building near the Portland ICE facility? I mean, you'd have to move, right? You would have to. Portland is, it seems like they're going to be getting more and more issues on their hands. New York Post has this story, woke Portland slapped with civil rights complaint over race-first DEI policies, institutionalized modern discrimination. Federal investigations incoming, National Guard incoming, leftist tears flowing. Ultra-woke Portland could face a federal investigation over its use of alleged race-first policies across the Oregon city. Despite claiming to have rolled back its DEI initiatives, the City of Roses has been accused of institutionalized modern discrimination during its push to abandon racial colorblind policies in hiring and policing, according to a new complaint from America First Legal, a conservative advocacy group. They say in the context of race Being colorblind marginalizes negative racial conflicts, cultural heritage, and unique perspectives of people of color, Portland Fire and Rescue said on its website, describing anti-racism and equity as two of the city's core values. Color blindness stands in the way of our necessity to address racial differences and difficulties. We cannot be colorblind until we address all the issues that color consciousness has created. Similar sentiments are pervasive across Portland agencies that indicate that local officials are continuing to make race a central factor in their decision-making, according to the complaint. Of particular concern is the Portland Police Bureau's racial equity policies. The Portland Police Bureau will dedicate staff time and resources to best support equitable outcomes. A racial equity plan commitment from the city cited in the complaint reads, Portland Police Bureau will ensure equitable use of current and future technology. America First Legal has filed similar discrimination complaints in the past, such as civil rights filing against Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore over the summer, argued that Portland is violating Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits race-based discrimination, saying in Portland, left-wing bureaucrats have embedded equity principles throughout the government, including at the Bureau, where lived experience and equitable outcomes take priority. America First Legal's Will Scalinos wrote in a complaint to the Justice Department obtained by the Post. Scalinos filed the complaint with the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division, seeking a probe into Portland's policies on race and to ensure that federal dollars aren't flowing to the city's race-based directives. This is what it all comes down to. Do you want your tax dollars being spent on this? Do you want your tax dollars being sent to Portland so that way they can say to somebody, you're not the right color, you can't work here? Is that what we want? It's not what I want. Portland's got a lot of issues on their way. Chicago also, tons of issues. These have been the two main cities with the pushback. We know that the National Guard's been deployed to Memphis. It seems like a lot of the citizens are very, very happy about that. I know lawsuits have been filed. I think that those are going to be just be an absolute failure. But we'll be paying attention to that. In Chicago, they had a ruling yesterday that was bananas. Chicago area judge ruled that immigrations and customs enforcement officers can be arrested at Cook County courthouses if they violate his orders and arrest a migrant without a warrant. What's that, you say? U.S. District Judge Jeffrey Cummings ordered that ICE officers are barred from arresting migrants at courthouses if they don't have a warrant. He also ordered that federal law enforcement can be arrested if they violate his orders. You hear a lot of people throwing around the term civil war a lot lately. I don't know if you have. Maybe it's just me, but I've seen it thrown around quite a bit. This is how it would pop off. You'd have local authorities versus federal authorities. 100%. The judge's order aimed to prevent what are called collateral arrests of people whom ICE officers discover are illegal on the spot. These are the migrants that ICE agents come across by happenstance while looking for someone they have a warrant to apprehend. You know, it's funny to me because these collateral arrests that they're worried about, this could all be solved if they let ICE agents into the prisons to go after the illegal aliens with detainers. They wouldn't be going after someone's abuela if they were picking up these violent offenders in prisons. They just wouldn't. But ICE shouldn't have to turn a blind eye to someone who's an illegal alien. They should be enforcing the law. This judge says no. Cummings stated that courthouses must be places where witnesses and suspects feel safe. The fair administration of justice requires that courts remain open and accessible, and that litigants and witnesses may appear without fear of civil arrest, he said in his order. Judge Cummings also cited in his ruling that arrests that have been made recently outside county courthouses where ICE has taken collateral migrants into custody in the Chicago area. He said, one thing seems clear. ICE rousted American citizens from their apartments during the middle of the night and detained them, in zip ties no less, for far longer than the brief period authorized by the operative regulation. The Department of Homeland Security said it intends to comply with all lawful court orders and is addressing this matter with the court. However, DHS also defended its practice of taking collateral migrants into custody wherever and whenever they may find them, saying, we aren't some medieval kingdom. There are no legal sanctuaries where you can hide and avoid the consequences for breaking the law, DHS said in a statement. Chicago's an absolute mess. Please don't arrest bad guys. Please don't arrest bad guys. Okay. We'll see what happens. We'll pay attention to that. In the meantime, government's still shut down. Week 3, it's day 21. Day 21. Mike Johnson, not exactly impressed with the Democrats voting yet again to continue the government shutdown.
And it's also important for us to note this is the first time in history that any party has had the audacity to shut down the government over a totally clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution. This is a political stunt, and it's the first time it's been done, and it is the most costly, most selfish, most dangerous political stunt in the history of the United States Congress, because as we have stood here day after day after day explaining all the Americans who are being harmed by this nonsense. And the Senate Democrats have zero shame about this. They don't have any shame at all about the pain that they're inflicting upon hardworking families, upon soldiers and law enforcement officers and veterans and the elderly and the disabled and women, infants, and children. Services to all those categories and paychecks to those folks are being stalled because Democrats are playing games.
And the Democrats think that this is going to be working to their advantage. But make no mistake about it. They think that this is a politically advantageous move. Maybe. Or perhaps they're just worried about being primaried by their own party if they bend the knee. The American people, well, they're blaming the Democrats. And Harry Enton ran the numbers on CNN, no less.
That's exactly right. Turns out shutdowns are different the second time around when it comes to Donald Trump. Take a look here. You know, we speak about Donald Trump shutdowns, net approval rating. We're talking 20 days into it. In 2018/2019, Donald Trump's net approval rating was already falling. The shutdown was eating into his popular support. It was down 3 points already at this particular point and would fall considerably more. It was very much on the decline. You come over to this side of the screen, this shutdown hasn't eaten into Donald Trump's support at all. His net approval rating is actually up a point in terms of his popular support. So the bottom line is this. The first shutdown during Trump's first term, 2018-2019, was hurting Donald Trump. This one is not hurting him at all. There's no real reason Donald Trump might say, at least when it comes to popular support, I want to get out of this shutdown.
What's that you say? He's actually more popular 20 days into the shutdown than he was at this time during his first term? Weird. It's almost like the American people have seen through the lies of the left and understand exactly what's going on.
What about the question of blame?
Yeah, okay, what about the question of blame? Okay, you see Donald Trump's net approval rating was down 2018 to 2019. You talk about 2025 as net approval rating is up. It comes down to the blame game, a game I loved to play when I was younger. Blame Trump for the shutdown a great deal. In 2018/2019, 61%, more than 3 in 5 Americans blame Trump a great deal for that particular shutdown. You come over to this side of the screen, look at this. It's a different world. 48% of Americans blame Trump a great deal for this particular shutdown. So it's more than 3 in 5 back in 2018/2019. It's less than half, a drop of 13 points. Again, it's no real wonder that Donald Trump at this point, looking at the shutdown, says, you know what, it's not actually harming me politically, in large part because he's getting less of the blame.
Oh, weird. Weird. So the Republicans know that this is actually working to their advantage. The Democrats know that this is not working to their advantage. Who's going to blink first? I hope that they dig their heels in, and I hope that they hold out as long as they can, because this is a losing issue for the Democrat Party. Clearly. 9:51, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at United Structural Systems. You know them as USS. I'll tell you all the time, these guys are the best. They've been doing this work since 1994. If you have waterproofing or foundation issues, you got to talk to these guys. Maybe you're not sure if you have them. Maybe you're like, I got a couple of red flags. What do they mean? Well, let me ask you this. Are your floors sagging? Are there cracks showing up in your drywall? Do you have doors at your house that just won't shut right? Those are red flags. Those are signs that your foundation could be weakening. And let's be honest, a solid foundation is the backbone of a strong home. When it weakens, it's not going to fix itself. It's only going to get worse with time. This is why you got to talk to USS. They've been doing it since 94, keeping homes dry, stable, and secure. They use American-made adjustable steel supports built to last, backed with transferable warranties. Even if you leave the home, they're so confident in their work that the warranty can stay. From I-beams to custom crawl space repairs, USS will fix it right the first time. So when it comes to your home, don't kick the can down the road anymore. Call USS today. 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, or find them online, USSTN.com.
Police in Georgia say a family's quick action saved lives yesterday. And it's earnings season. We'll tell you which companies are reporting better than expected results today. That and more coming up at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Louis, we have company. Can you let them know why they would need a water filtration system for me when you get a chance on the button bar? Can you hit the Alex Jones for me? There's a reason that we have Better Water as a sponsor. We need water filters. It's a very important reason. Louis is going to find that for me here momentarily. I put him on the spot. Louis doesn't always do this, but he knows. He knows the reason.
I think by this time we could repeat it ourselves.
I feel like we could. Louis working on it. He's finding it. Guest in studio, Jeff Younger. Jeff has an unbelievable story, heart-wrenching, and I'm excited to have you in here to talk about it, Jeff. Thanks for taking some time out of your day and joining us here in studio in Nashville.
Yeah, I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, well, we're going to have a good conversation. I feel like there's a lot of heartbreak but in the story, but I walk in and you seem rather hopeful. It doesn't seem like this is... I expected a bit more somberness, but it seems like you're living your life and you're trying to move forward despite what's going on in the storm around you.
Yeah, I always said when this began, my son's name is James, and I'd say save James.
Oh, hang on, hit the red button real quick. There you go. Go for it.
When this all started, I'd say save James, save thousands of kids. So it's not just about my son. My son was just one of the first. And so I've always focused on fighting to protect my son in a way that would stop it for other kids, and I just keep doing that.
Well, I appreciate what you're doing, man. We're going to talk about what's going on with your son. We're going to talk about the custody battle, the divorce, and more. And I got a lot of questions for you, and I'm really grateful for you being here and sharing what you've gone through. We'll do that when we get back. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh, shit, my bad.
Yeah, you turned his mic off.
I thought the red was...
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. An alleged plot that targeted the nation's biggest airport, Hartsfield-Jackson in Atlanta. Police are saying they foiled a potential mass shooting there. That suspect, now under arrest, has been identified as 49-year-old Billy Cagle from Cartersville, Georgia.
Police say within minutes, a tip came in from Cagle's family.
The Cartersville Police Department was alerted by the family of Mr. Cagle that he was streaming on social media, that he was headed to the airport, in their words, to shoot it up.
According to police, the family said Cagle wanted to inflict harm to as many people as he could and sent a photo to police to identify him. Officers quickly spotting him.
That's ABC's Mola Lange. Investigators say they found 27 rounds of ammunition in his back seat, along with an AR-15 style rifle. They say he is a convicted felon. It raises questions about how he obtained that weapon. Metro Nashville police looking for the person who shot and killed a teenager at a Bellevue apartment complex. Channel 4's Dryden Quigley.
Here at the Forest Park Apartments, there have been 2 homicides, and that's just in the past week. According to the Metro Police data dashboard, over the last 3 years, there have been more than 50 incidents here.
Last year, a 37-year-old man was shot dead in front of his apartment at Forest Park. Since then, they've put in new security cameras and lighting. The shooting of a pedicab rider last week is renewing conversations about self-defense. The pedicab driver telling police that he was punched by one rider, and he ended up shooting and killing another one as he charged at the driver. Attorney David Rabin tells Channel 4 that Tennessee's stand your ground laws come into play here.
The key is it has to be reasonable at the time, and you have to have an immediate fear. You can't just shoot somebody because you say, well, 3 weeks from now, they're going to kill me or something like that. It has to be right then.
So far, no charges have been filed and the investigation goes on. A Nashville Traffic and Parking Commission plan to add parking meters to what's now free parking spaces in the Music Row area. It's getting pushback from musicians. The Nashville Musicians Association presenting a change.org petition with 1,000 signatures during the public input hearing of that commission yesterday. It's not clear, though, if that'll put an end to the paid parking plan. That is the latest news. We've got your weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 10:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Really excited to have my guest in studio. His name is Jeff Younger, and you've probably heard his story. Probably like, that name sounds familiar. I can't quite put my finger on it because this story has been everywhere. Jeff, thanks for joining us to talk about this today.
Glad to be here.
Can you give me a brief synopsis on what happened? And I know it's not easy to run through it as quickly as possible, but just like an overview on what happened to you and why you're here today.
Okay, I'll give you the main highlights. Starting at 2.5, my then wife, who is a pediatrician in Coppell, Texas, began to try to transition my son to a girl while we were still married.
At 2.5? At
2.5. When I put my foot down and stopped it, she used her relationships with primary care providers, psychologists, psychiatrists, physicians. She filed for divorce and forced me out of my house. I moved a mile up the road from my house, and I took the first iPhone video I ever took. If you go onto YouTube and search for Mommy Says I'm a Girl, it went mega viral worldwide. I'm an Orthodox Christian, so it even went worldwide in Eastern Europe and Russia, went everywhere. And it's my son saying that his mother's telling him that he's a girl, and he believes it. And he's just past his 3rd birthday in that video. She lied to the court and lied to the custody evaluator. His name is Blake Mitchell. You'll see that I named people's names. I've never been sued because truth is an absolute defense against defamation. His name is Blake Mitchell, practices out of Frisco, Texas. He found that I had made a false accusation against my wife, that she wasn't transitioning my son, and on the basis of me making a false accusation that she was, he recommended that I get less than standard possession time with my son. So that was the first lie right out of the gate with the psychologist. So she starts ramping up the transitioning right after that. I even showed him that video. Mommy says I'm a girl. That doesn't even appear in his report. He just lied to the court. Name is Blake Mitchell. So then we go on after the trial, after the divorce trial. She starts to hardcore transition my son. She fully socially transitioned him. So by the time he's 4, he's completely living as a girl in public. He starts school when he gets older. He goes into 1st grade. I'm taking him to school, on Fridays. She's taking him to school the other days. I found out later that the school I would take him to school in boys' clothes, and his teacher would give him a dress and change him into girls' clothes and make him use the girls' restroom, and they never told me about it. I sued them, but it turns out that school districts have sovereign immunity like the states, and it's very difficult to sue them, so that went nowhere. We went to trial again because she had ramped it up so much. So in 2019, at this little courthouse, 255th District Court in Dallas County under Judge Kim Cooks, the top experts in the world on transgender medicine showed up on both sides of the issue, and we had a 5-day trial in the matter. I had deposed one of their experts. Her name is Johanna Olsen Kennedy. At that time, she ran the largest gender clinic in the world in Los Angeles. I asked her one question in that sworn testimony, and her answer to that testimony caused them to not put her on the stand in front of the jury. Here is the question and her answer. I said, what is your medical justification for removing healthy body parts from children? And she said, quote, if the body parts are causing psychological distress, they're not healthy body parts, and we're medically justified in amputating them, unquote. The lawyer that was in the room quit the case right after that, and they put another primary lawyer in place. I thank her for that. She had some ethics. We went to trial. They very successfully impugned my character throughout the whole trial. But in the end, I got 50-50 custody, no child support. Most importantly, I got a check on all medical on my son. So she could never do this without my permission, okay? The liberal judges in Dallas County got very upset with this ruling. Sua sponte, meaning of their own accord, that's a legal term, means on their own. They transferred the case to the 301st District Court under Judge Mary Brown, and I will henceforth call her Bloody Mary Brown. Bloody Mary Brown not only did not implement the jury verdict, but she systematically stripped me of all my parental rights over a period of 18 months, to the point where I got put on supervised possession because I wouldn't stop coming onto shows like yours telling people to outlaw these practices. They had put me under a gag order, and some of the people in your audience who are lawyers are going to have a hard time believing this, but I've had lawyers have to actually view the gag order that I was put under. I'm telling you, this is accurate what I'm saying. I was barred from talking about transgenderism, gender expansiveness, whether my sons were boys or girls, and I was prohibited from publishing any newspaper articles, books, doing any podcasts, doing any video interviews. It was a total prior restraint on all speech until my sons turned 18.
And this is after you won a court case.
Correct.
This is the result of winning.
That is correct. And that is Judge Bloody Mary Brown who did that. I kept telling her that I was not going to stop violating the gag order because I have a right to speak and I have a right to protect children and try to get laws passed and to talk to my fellow citizens in a democracy. And I begged her to hold me in criminal contempt. I told her, I said, I'm in maximum contempt of the order. I'm not following it. I'm in maximum contempt of the office of the court because no Texas court should ever violate a citizen's rights this way. And I have maximum contempt for you, Judge Brown, because you're a scandalously corrupt in office. So I'm in maximum contempt of court, and you're obligated as a judge to give me 18 months in the Lou Sterrett County Jail. And the reason I wanted that is that would allow me to file a writ of habeas corpus with the appeals court to overturn the gag order. But more importantly, it would have set a precedent across entire Texas that you can't do gag orders like this. And the judges said, we don't want him to have a precedent like that. So instead, she said, she reasoned this way, and she literally reasoned this way in her orders. She said, Jeff Younger is not following my illegal gag order. Because he's not following my illegal gag order, the gag order was entered in the interests of his sons. He's not following my illegal gag order that was entered in the interests of his sons, therefore he's not acting in the interests of his sons. And on that basis, she gave me supervised visitation with my sons. She chose a gay and transgender psychologist group for me to do the supervision. And I never went because they refused to let me take my son out of a dress. They were forcing me to call him by his girl's pronouns, his girl's name, and they wouldn't let me pray with my son. So that went on for about 6 months, and they said, well, hey, you've abandoned your children because you're not visiting them, because you're not going to the supervised visitations and saying your son's a girl to his face. So we're going to let your ex-wife move to California.
So, wow.
That's literally what happened.
So,
I went up to the Texas Supreme Court on that one and lost. They let her move to California.
So at this point, I mean, you're watching the courts take away your rights to your son.
Yes.
You know what the end result of that is going to be.
Yeah.
How do you keep it all together?
Prayer, fasting, and doing good works. It's really just that simple, you know. If I wasn't a Christian, there'd probably be dead bodies everywhere. But I seek repentance all the time, and I keep repenting, and I keep repenting, and I keep repenting. And I refuse to give in to despair, which I think is one of the worst sins.
So why is it that the system is siding with your ex-wife at this time over you?
The answer is a 100% known, 100% objectively known. It's just not known by a lot of people. The fundamental issue with American politics is this. We have a single donor class, and it runs both parties. And the consensus among the parties historically in the United States since World War II has been this. Either party, doesn't matter who wins, is going to try to give a candidate that's acceptable to that donor, to that single donor class, right? So it really didn't matter who won. We never got a change of policies. And we all have experienced that if you've been voting for very long. 10 years, you've been voting for 10 years, you've seen this. You can vote for whoever you want, but the policies never change. The donor class controls that. So it turns out that the donor class of the Republican Party, which ostensibly controls Texas, where my sons were, is spectacularly leftist. The largest donor to the Republican Party is a guy named Paul Singer. He is the founder of the Human Rights Campaign, which is the largest and most powerful gay and transgender lobby group in the world. He's the reason that you had gay pride flags flying at all of our U.S. embassies. He's the guy that created the DEI scorecards that forced people to hire gays into management positions and corporations and so forth. He has a gay son, and because of that, he founded this Human Rights Campaign. He also funds the Manhattan Institute. A lot of people think of the Manhattan Institute as very conservative. I encourage you to go out to YouTube, search for Manhattan Institute, Paul Singer, and you'll see a number of Manhattan Institute interviews with Paul Singer about why he supports trans and kids. So the donor class of the party, the top donors, are all for trans and kids and transgenderism. The Adelson family, who is the largest donor to the Republican National Committee, your audience may wonder, you watch the RNC on television, right? It's RNC convention. They always have a crossdresser they put on stage. Lady MAGA or somebody, they always put a crossdresser up on stage at some point. Miriam Adelson funded the transgender story hours for kids in America that we were fighting in all the libraries. That was funded by the third largest Republican donor. Okay? The child transgender movement was started by a guy named James Pritzker, who at the time, back in the early 2000s, was the third largest donor to the Republican Party. He's now switched over to the Democrats, and he's an ugly man in a dress now named Jennifer Pritzker.
Relation to JB?
Yes, yes, his brother. And so it's all been driven, the transgender movement was started and funded by Republicans, not by Democrats. And it's the donor class that's been pushing it. And that's why you had remember the Republican governor of Arkansas vetoed a bill that would outlaw trans and kids?
Yep.
Same thing happened in Mississippi.
Ohio.
Right? Ohio. This all happens because the donor class puts pressure onto these political officials, and because they really do control the party. So that's how it happened. That's how my leftist wife, who wants to trans my son, attained more political power with the Republican Party in Texas to trans my son than I could muster as a conservative.
It's insane because you think of Texas and you think it's got to be super conservative. And, you know, a lot of people feel the same way about Tennessee. You know, we were talking about transgender ideology books in libraries in Sumner County, and they're all over the state.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to be this super conservative majority, and we can't do something as simple as removing those books. So we're talking with Jeff Younger, and you'd said, okay, so Texas rules against you. You lose all your rights. You're then in a fight for keeping your wife and your children, your two boys, in Texas.
Yes.
That goes all the way to the Supreme Court.
Correct.
When it goes to the Supreme Court, they don't rule in your favor.
No, they let her move.
What was the justification behind that?
It's absolutely bizarre. So the justices that wrote the opinion against me, and nobody wrote an opposing opinion, by the way, a dissenting opinion, were Justice Blacklock, I call him Black-Hearted Blacklock, and Justice Young. And this, keep in mind, this is right after California passed its transgender kidnapping law. Like, a lot of people don't know this, but it is not safe for you to visit California with your children if you're a conservative. Actually, the Alliance Defending Freedom and many other conservative groups have put out warnings about this. In California, if somebody in California, it could be a teacher, it could be a psychologist, any licensed care provider, like say your kid gets a cold while you're on a vacation there, if that doctor decides that your kid might be transgender, California will not let the child leave the state. So after they passed this transgender kidnapping bill, which was passed by a guy named, I name names. His name is Senator Weiner in the California Senate. He's from San Francisco.
Familiar with him.
And I've often said the only transgender surgery that I would ever approve of is amputating the wiener out of the California Senate. So Weiner passed this bill. And so right after it's passed, she wants to move to California. She gets permission from the judge. She gets permission from the Texas Supreme Court. She moves there. And then I'm set up for a new trial in California. After she moved,
and you can't be too confident at that point. You're like, I just lost in Texas.
Correct.
So what am I up against in California?
Correct. And I think it's noteworthy that less than 6 months after Justice Black-Hearted Blacklock ruled against my son and condemned him to transgender mutilation, less than 6 months later, the governor of Texas promoted him to Chief Justice of the Texas Supreme Court. And I think that was payback for a little favor. The governor has been involved in my case all the way through it.
Governor Abbott?
Yes. So the counselor that was assigned to my son by Bloody Mary Brown, Judge Bloody Mary Brown in the 301st District Court, was the same psychologist that Abbott appointed to the Red Flag Commission to take our gun rights based on psychological criteria. Remember those Red Flag Commissions? She was on the Red Flag Commission in Texas to design those psychological criteria to take our gun rights. She was the counselor that was assigned as my son's counselor. Do you think that's a little bit of a coincidence? Yeah. So she wouldn't give me my son's medical records because my son told her he didn't want to be a girl, and she would not reveal that to the court. So I sued to get her records because she wouldn't give them to me. Abbott sent his personal attorney to defend her, and I did not get those records.
Wow.
So Abbott has been involved from the very beginning in this. Abbott is a petty, small, and vindictive man, and he doesn't forget slights. And when I was trying to get, I did successfully outlaw these transgender procedures in Texas. That's why she had to flee to California. Well, Abbott opposed me all the way. Dade Phelan opposed me all the way. Dustin Burrows in Texas fought me all the way. And I forced the governor to sign that bill, and I forced the governor to change policies in his HHS, which was a trans. They had a whole webpage on transing kids and how to trans your kid. And I forced him to do that and embarrass them. He's a very small, petty, and vindictive man. He never forgets things like that.
We're talking with Jeff Younger, and it seems like we've only scratched the tip of the iceberg. You're good to hang out for a little while, right?
Absolutely.
I want to hear more. We'll continue this conversation on the other side. It's 10:21. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friend Shane Ring over at Cover Nash. And finally, health insurance is going to be made simple. If you're tired of health insurance that feels like a math test, confusing percentages, surprise bills, fine print that bites back, we'll talk to Shane over at Cover Nash. He's going to make it simple for you. He has a brand new nationwide PPO plan that gives you the freedom to pick your own doctors anywhere in the U.S. with no referrals, no red tape, just a $250 deductible, a flat $50 copay for any doctor, even specialists. You need an outpatient surgery, it's just $250 copay. Hospital stays, just $1,000 total. Free preventative care like colonoscopies. Not that you're excited about it, but you can get them because it's ACA compliant. Now, here's the kicker. No surprise bills, no hidden fees, just real protection from real providers. And if that's not the right fit for you, well, Shane Ring and Cover Nash, they work with 75 top-rated companies. They'll find something that fits your budget. They'll find something that fits your need. Easy. Visit covernash.com or call Shane right now. I know Shane. He's at his desk. He'll pick up the phone. 615-465-0023, 615-465-0023, or find him online, covernash.com.
The ceasefire in the Middle East is holding, but it appears to be pretty fragile. And you wouldn't believe what police found wandering down the street in Mount Juliet last night. We've got that and more coming up here at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand, 1025 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm reading through the text messages. People are just surprised and enraged at this story. We're in studio with Jeff Younger. Jeff, you have two wonderful boys and a great life. And then at 2.5, your wife started transitioning your young son. You said, that's not going to fly.
Right.
And you put your foot down, which a court battle ensues.
Mm-hmm.
And this court battle is not one that you won.
No, 11-year court battle and lost it.
Where we left off the story, your wife had just taken a case to the Supreme Court in Texas to allow her to move to California. You lost that case.
I lost that case.
You put a lot of blame squarely on the Republicans in Texas.
Yes.
A couple texters have issues with believing that Republicans and Republican donors would fund this stuff. What would you say to that?
Listen, we have this wonderful thing called the internet these days. You don't have to believe me, right? As I said, go out, Google Paul Singer, Manhattan Institute, LGBT, and you'll just see scores of interviews with him. You can go verify that he founded the Human Rights Campaign, which is it's the yellow equal sign that you see on the cars. Right? Go to the Wikipedia page and you'll see who it was founded by. And this is the wonderful thing about the internet. You can just go fact check me right away. So go do it.
And he's a major donor for the Republican Party.
He's the largest donor to the Republican Party. He's a hedge fund billionaire. Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. Has been for some time the largest donor. He's the largest out-of-state donor in many states as well. And he's a huge contributor to Governor Abbott.
When you're going through this, I'm sure for a little while you have to think like, cooler heads will prevail. But at a certain point, you probably realize the deck is stacked against you. When did you realize that the deck was stacked against you as the father?
It actually did not occur in court. I was very hopeful in court, especially after the 2019 ruling. It was trying to get a bill to outlaw these procedures on kids in Texas, and it took me 6 years, 3 legislative sessions to get it done. The first year I went up there, it was blocked by Speaker of the House Dade Phelan and the Lieutenant Governor. The first time I went, they just said, "We're not hearing this. And it was basically very clear that their donors had told them to drop this." I came back 2 years. In Texas, we only let our legislature meet every other year.
Yep.
We're afraid of what they might do. So the second session comes around. I go there and I start getting meetings with people, and I find a legislative sponsor who begins to disrupt the legislative process on the floor unless this bill is taken seriously. Okay. We start to negotiate. They want to take out. So my bill had 3 sentences in it, which would have classified these procedures as felony child sexual abuse.
Which they should be.
Yeah. Which in Texas will get you life in prison. Okay. The reason I wanted the criminal provisions is precisely because then you could not take your child out of Texas to Colorado or California, castrate your child, and then bring it back to Texas.
Right.
Right? If you take your kid to Thailand and sexually abuse your kid and come back to Texas, we're going to hang you in Texas. That's how it works, okay? So it was important that it be a criminal offense.
It needs some teeth.
It needs some teeth. Instead, what they did is they simply banned the medical procedure. That's ultimately, that omission is what allowed my ex-wife to move to California, okay? And that was, I believe, calculated by the Texas Republican establishment. They changed the law for that reason. Right? They still didn't pass it, even though we negotiated. And finally, it got passed in the third time I went up there. So it took me 6 years. Just think about this for a second. You're talking about conservative Republicans. And it takes me 6 years and $180,000, where I eventually just bought the bill. I'm just going to be honest with you. I just bought the bill. I went out. It turns out you can buy legislators in the states. Anybody wants to do this? For about $10,000, you can buy a legislative vote. So I just spent a lot of money and got it passed, okay? So why did it take me 6 years to get these passed? And for those skeptics out there, why did Republican governors in all these states veto these laws? Why did our Arkansas governor veto these laws when they were passed by their legislature? Why did Ohio, right? So you can clearly see that there's some force in the Republican Party that's pro-transgender and is blocking these bills. And the answer is, well, it's the donor class.
It's a wild story. We're going to pick it up on the other side after the headlines with Joan Jones. I want to hear more about what happened after your wife went to California and kind of how you have picked up the pieces and kept the fight going moving forward. I think it's an unbelievable story. It's not a story that we want to realize is happening. And I think it's happening to more people than just you. But, you have a loud voice in the movement. I'm grateful for you speaking up. We'll talk more about it on the other side. It's 10:30. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Well, Hamas continues violent attacks in Gaza, but for now, the ceasefire does appear to be holding.
There were attempted attacks on Israeli soldiers last night in the north of Gaza, earlier in the day yesterday in the south. Today, some reports of another attempt, but they have not resulted in the killing of Israeli soldiers. And that's why I think, we haven't seen another major flare-up.
That's ABC's Jordana Miller. Now, Vice President J.D. Vance is on the ground in Israel right now answering reporters' questions. He's joined by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. After revelations that the Biden DOJ obtained call logs for Republican lawmakers, former special counsel Jack Smith was referred to the Justice Department's office that deals with professional misconduct. Senator Marsha Blackburn telling Dan Mandis this morning she's still waiting for her request to be granted.
At that point, we will be able to use that review to refer to the Tennessee bar and the New York bar where he's licensed to practice law. He should be disbarred.
Reports say that Smith got so-called toll analysis that would reveal who 9 Republican senators contacted during his 2020 election interference prosecution of President Trump. And the Wilson County Sheriff's Office is home to someone's pet pig. At least temporarily. That pig was found wandering down Nonaville Road in Mount Juliet last night. News 2 reports a Good Samaritan helped to capture the pig, and the sheriff's office volunteered to keep it until its owners are found. They're asking anyone who knows about the little guy to give them a call. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Zero Res Nashville. I tell you all the time, 4 kids, 2 dogs. The real beating that happens in my house is the carpets. Just last night, we get back from baseball. I said, Brooks, we take the cleats off outside. This is as we're pulling in the driveway. He said, yeah, of course, Dad, of course. Do you think you took the cleats off before you went in the house? No, of course not. So all that dirt, all that mud gets tracked inside. We got to clean it up. We don't stress. We call Zero Res. They'll clean any room in your house for just $45. They use their exclusive ZR water. No soap, no harsh chemicals, no residue. Means the carpets, the upholstery, they're not just looking insanely clean. They're staying clean longer. And it doesn't break the bank. The kids can roll around on the ground. Dogs can roll around. We don't have to worry about what's in the fibers. It's nice. It takes a load off for me and the wife. It really does. And it'll make your life simpler as well. If you need the carpets clean, go with the guys who have just unbelievable Facebook reviews, unbelievable Yelp rating. Go with Zero Res in Nashville. Any room, $45. 615-535-9376. 615-535-9376. ZeroResNashville.com. It's 10:38, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. In studio with my friend Jeff Younger, who is just incredibly brave, sharing an unbelievable story. And hopefully you've caught the first half of it. Just to briefly recap, Jeff went through a bit of a custody battle with his wife, to say the least. Lost custody of his two sons. And the reason that there was a battle in the first place was because his wife wanted to transition one of his twin boys. And Jeff said, that's not going to fly with me. So it went through all the court systems in Texas, all the way up to the Supreme Court in some cases. And Jeff didn't pick up many victories there. And I asked you off air, how old are your sons now? This started with when your son was 2.5, and you said your boys are 13.
That's right.
So what does it feel like today? Because contact is still limited, correct?
Well, I really can't contact my sons. They put me under supervised visitation again, but this time under California law. And under California law, failing to affirm a child in their chosen gender is considered child abuse. And so I could get a child abuse restraining order if I were to talk to my son and use his real name, for example, his so-called dead name. And that would give me a permanent loss of my Second Amendment rights. I would lose my passport. There's a lot of consequences to that. So it's just not safe for me to talk to my sons. And they did that specifically for that reason, knowing that that would hold me off. I tried writing letters to my sons. The court ruled that my ex-wife doesn't even have to give my letters to my sons. So where I'm at now is, I post letters to my sons on social media because they're getting to the age where they're probably going to find me. And, I talk to them in that way. And I try to set a public example for them so that my son James especially knows that at no time did I ever hurt him. At no time did I ever stop opposition to his mother hurting him. And that I never allowed any of my resources to go to hurting him. And I think when he comes to his senses when he's 18, these three things are going to be really important for me to have a relationship with him. I can't be one of the people that participated in hurting him. And unfortunately, in California right now, their position is that I have to pay medical child support, which includes the medical costs of castrating my son. And
so not only do you have to sit there, grin and bear it, but you also have to fund it.
That's correct. And so I'm refusing to pay child support now since they've chemically castrated my son. And
what are the consequences of that?
Well, in California, that's a felony, and I'm looking at 2 years in prison. I'll probably also endure about an 18-month confinement on contempt of court before that. So I'm looking at 3.5 to 4 years in prison. And by that time, my sons will be 18. And hopefully when I get out of prison, we can have a relationship. That's what I'm looking at. But I'm not going to allow the state to torture me into abusing my son. It's not going to happen.
Well, God bless you for standing firm, man. I don't know how you're doing it. The strength that you're showing is unbelievable. So when does that court case come up?
My guess is it'll happen next year. The initial filings are just ongoing right now, and they're going through all the administrative procedures to make all that stuff happen. You have to assemble. The California Attorney General will get involved. His name is Bonta. He's an extremely evil man, and the California establishment has just as many reasons to want to get me as the Texas establishment, perhaps more. And there's a guy named Asaf Orr who runs the transgender operations for the American Civil Liberties Union. He's been very active in these cases behind the scenes. I'm pretty sure he's involved at some level. And then you have the Bar Association with the judges. It's very clear that the judges in my case had colluded for outcomes. So, for example, my ex-wife didn't have to give me any evidence in discovery.
That seems a bit off.
That's a bit off. So I went to trial with no evidence from her. They denied me an independent medical exam of my son. They denied me an independent psychological exam of my son. So I went in with literally no evidence, and they made sure of that. And then they got the court reporters to refuse to give me the records of the trial. So the court reporters simply wouldn't give me the records, which delayed my appeal sufficiently that the deadlines passed.
So you've just had the deck stacked against you every step of the way.
Yeah, and it's clearly a coordinated thing. They want to make an example of me because I won't stop speaking out.
We're talking with Jeff Younger, and I think this is an important story. How do you keep your faith through all of this?
Man, I have a prayer rule, so I pray 3 times a day. I fast a lot, and I confess my sins a lot. I really think repentance and confessing your sins to Jesus is probably the most powerful thing you can do in your life. I think a lot of people think about worship, and that's all important, and it's definitely vital to a Christian life. But that worship should convict you to repent. And one of the things that's happened in this case that's very spiritual, actually, is, my ex-wife published everything bad that I've ever done in my life, everything bad people said I did that I didn't do, and even all things that I ever wanted to do that were bad but didn't do have all been published. It's all public. And it has the effect of a public confession. I totally get why the early Christians did public confessions. Because once you just give up worrying about your reputation and you just accept that you're just a fallen sinner like everybody else, that you're not the central character in the story, and you just accept that, there's something tremendously freeing about it. They have, this is one of the things they tried with me over and over again. They threatened to take my property and everything, and I would just give them the property. I don't care about money. I don't care. I don't need a nice house. I don't need anything. So going to prison, somebody asked me about this. One of the lawyers asked me about it, and I said, well, so what is it? It's 3 hots and a cot. I'm going to lose a lot of weight and get shredded, and my wife's going to think I'm super attractive because I'm so shredded and in shape. I'm going to have plenty of leisure time to finish my book. There's probably a lot of guys there that need some Christian ministering to. I'll be able to probably do some good things. How bad can that possibly be, is the way I look at this stuff. And that transformation in my point of view is strictly a result of constant repentance and asking Jesus to forgive me and just accepting that I'm just a sinner.
It's an unbelievable story, what you've been through and what your son has been through, and that you continue to fight. What would you say to parents out there who are going through similar struggles?
Listen, you're fighting a court system that is really against you. I mean, the family court system has been so weaponized against parents at this point. There's no respect for parental rights anywhere in the family court system. It operates on what's called in the law a preponderance of the evidence standard, which means, if just 51% of the evidence shows, something, they can just take your parental rights. Right? There's no protection for, and when you have something like it could just be 51%, you can see the judge could just pick any evidence they want to make whatever outcome they want happen. What we actually need are strict protections in state constitutions for parental rights. And in Texas, we just got through the Senate some propositions, Proposition 15 in Texas, that would enshrine parental rights as a fundamental liberty interest in Texas. But Republicans in Texas are opposing it. Texas Eagle Forum came out against it. True Texas Project came out against it. So we've got Republicans opposing a parental rights amendment to the Texas Constitution to protect parental rights in family court and against CPS, when everyone full well knows these courts and agencies are violating parental rights left and right.
It's insane.
It's insane.
So where do you go next? What's your next steps on this battle? And this, I mean, you're in a battle.
Yeah, it's a battle. Well, I can't. I'm under seal from a federal court, and I can't talk about details about this. But I shut down the gender clinic that my son was in LA County, that Johanna Olsen Kennedy. Remember her from the 2019 trial? They put my son in that clinic, and I shut that clinic down, or participated with other people in shutting that clinic down. And we went after the Boston clinic, and I'm going to go after the clinic in San Francisco next. What I'm going to do is everywhere my son goes in and does a gender clinic, I'm going to try to shut the gender clinic down.
You're just focusing on offense.
I'm going to delay operation until he's 18. That's what I'm trying to do.
And how do you feel that it's going so far?
It's hard. Look, because I don't have a lot of information about him, it's hard for me to know, right? But I think the shutdown of that gender clinic in LA, that's the largest gender clinic in the world, was a major blow. And I think there are even some people on the left that are waking up in California to this travesty. And I intend to make it much more difficult for Bonta, the Attorney General in California, to continue to allow these practices to go on in his state.
How can, I mean, this audience is pretty active and they're probably fired up. Like, how can we jump in and help stand in the gap with you?
So here's the thing. The best thing you can do is make your city, county, and state safe for children. So you talked about libraries earlier.
Yep.
Okay, so I live in Flower Mound, Texas. I went to the library and they had a book up there, Beyond Magenta, which is an infamous transgender book that has graphic depictions of child sex. I filed a FOIA request, we call them public records request in Texas with the library, about who got that book and so forth. And I also worded it in a way where they had to give me all their emails and everything else. They delivered it on the very last day. They hand delivered it. In paper, not electronically. And when I made that request, they actually reported me to the city council as making terroristic threats because I wanted to remove this book. They admitted in emails that they were putting these books and promoting them out of the regular shelves so that children who were transgender, who couldn't talk to their parents about it, could learn about it. So it was specifically done to bypass parents. And they did background checks on me with city money, which was illegal. So just to let you know what you're up against, I'm in conservative county in Texas, and I'm trying to get these books out of this. So you need to get the books out. There's another problem with this, though. Like, I went to my son's school library, and I looked at all the books in the library. My sons are boys. They don't have any books where the boys are heroes anymore. All the old books are gone. So I have a whole bunch of, I bought quite a bunch of them, and I had a bunch of old books, Edgar Rice Burroughs and all those things. I took them to the school library and donated them, and they said they couldn't take them because they reinforced traditional gender stereotypes. So it's not only the books they're putting in, it's the books they're leaving out of the library. So you need to make sure that, why isn't Tarzan in your library?
Right.
Why isn't it in there? And donate the books and force them to not take them. Or donate the books and force them to admit they threw them away and they didn't put them on the shelves. Do an information request. So libraries become cultural centers for children in towns, and they're very important for parents to be active in. I don't believe that you can save the public schools at this point. I think that if you are a conservative of the libertarian persuasion or the Christian persuasion or whatever persuasion, that you cannot leave your children in public schools. There is no way at this point I can see that in the short term, we can possibly reform these schools.
I agree with that.
So you got to homeschool your kids, which turns out to be spectacularly easy, by the way.
It's deceptively easy.
It's crazy.
So we started homeschooling.
Did you?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
Yeah, we have 4. And it's like, you think about, we're getting this done in 4 days instead of 5?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's unreal what you can do.
Absolutely. Look, my 9-year-old son's read the Iliad and did fantastic analysis of the Iliad. Okay, when your children aren't held back, it's amazing what they can do. My sons learned mathematics through shop math. I do woodworking. We just went out and did woodworking, and they learned ratios. They were doing trigonometry at 10.
Let's go.
Right on. And it's because they could relate it to. They built their own beds. They built their own dressers. And they used that stuff. So they needed it as a tool. So they learn it. If you need it, you learn it. Right. So you got to get your kids out of public school. And you got to start getting a lot wiser about local and state politics and the effects of the donor class on politics. You have to know who's giving the money. I'll give you a story to illustrate one method that you can use as an activist. I was invited to a donor party in Texas, and this is one area where I'm not going to name names because a lot of these people helped me. I had one guy walk up to me and say, "Has the governor of Texas helped you at all with this?" And I said, "No, he hasn't made any statements or anything." This guy got on a mobile phone and made a phone call to somebody. And he said, "If you're not going to blankety blank help this man, I'm going to pull $2 million out." The next day, the governor of Texas made a public statement supporting me and my case.
Wow.
So what you realize is that your lobbying efforts with, with elected officials are misguided. Okay, they're necessary, but they're not sufficient. You have to lobby the donors too, the big donors. I went to a banker in Texas, and I brought him a board that had a design on it, and it had a cowboy castrating a cow, and I had put his face on the cowboy. And I said, "You're donating money to that are opposing bills to protect children, and I'm going to put this billboard up right across from your bank." I said, "Look out your window on the second story in the offices. Look out your window there." I had people ringing the bank, handing out flyers to other banks where they could get free checking and explaining this guy was supporting trans and kids. The next day, my bill went through the Senate. Okay? So you're going to have to learn how to play the donor game, find out who's donated these candidates, how you can get leverage over them, as well as elected officials. Because the reality is, elected officials only do what they're paid to do. That's the sad fact. So you got to find out who the donors are and go to their churches. Ask them in front of people in their church, why do you support trans and kids? Why are you doing this? Why are you donating money to this candidate? Who's doing this? They value money, power, and reputation. And you can threaten any three of those and get them to do what you want. So you're going to have to play a different kind of political game.
That's great advice. Jeff Younger, where can we find you on social media so we can keep up with these stories?
You can find me on Facebook at Jeff Younger Show and on X at Jeff Younger Show. And I don't actually have a show, guys. It was a joke. I felt like my life had become so public. It was like the Truman Show.
Yeah.
And so it's actually a joke. I don't have a show, so don't go looking for a show.
Okay. Well, Jeff, I appreciate you taking the time to come in and share your story, man. And I appreciate the fight that you have.
Great being here.
And anything you need from me, you just let me know, and we'll get you on, and we'll help spread the word.
Will do. Thank you.
I appreciate it. It's 10:55. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here, and I got to tell you about my friends over at Better Water LLC. If you're tired of weird smells, stains, or just plain old bad tasting water at the house or at the office, these are the guys you need to call. They'll test your water for free. I think that's the biggest thing. Get yourself some peace of mind. They'll test your water for free. You could have some nasty stuff in your water. I'm talking sulfur, iron, chlorine, bacteria, even E. coli. At least get yourself the peace of mind. Have them test your water for free. If you have any of the nasty stuff, Better Water offers a range of options to clean it up, from reverse osmosis to specialized filters to UV lights. You name it, Better Water has you covered. This is a local company. It's not like some big-time water filtration. It's not Big Water. These guys are local. They're based out of Smyrna. They do all the water in the coffee shops around town and the hospitals. They know what they're doing, and you've probably already tasted their work, and you don't even know it. So stop drinking the junk out of your tap. Give Better Water a call today. 615-355-6063, 615-355-6063, or find them online, betterwater.com.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in the South Loop, TDOT's reporting a crash 40 eastbound of 4th Avenue, exit 210C. Drivers, keep that in mind. Amazon Web Services says all issues have been resolved with its platform that powers scores of websites, apps, and cloud-based internet storage. But a small number of sites have reported trouble this morning. ABC's Mike Dobusky says it's not fully known what caused the outage, but it could be an issue with the domain name.
This all goes back to a domain name service, which is a piece of technology that basically translates human language, what you or I would type into a web browser, into computer language, an IP address. We don't know specifically what went wrong, but that's kind of the general shape of the problem.
President Trump, in an online post, says several countries in the Middle East have offered to go into the Gaza Strip to use force to straighten out Hamas. If Hamas continues to act badly, it comes with Vice President J.D. Vance arriving in Israel today. And Vance stated that if Hamas fails to comply with the terms of the peace agreement, it will be, quote, obliterated. ABC's Jordana Miller in Jerusalem says there has been some violence, but the ceasefire appears to be largely holding.
There were attempted attacks on Israeli soldiers last night in the north of Gaza, earlier in the day yesterday in the south. Today, some reports of another attempt, but they have not resulted in the killing of Israeli soldiers. And that's why I think, we haven't seen another major flare-up.
It's day 21 of the government shutdown, and lawmakers in Congress are no closer to working out a deal to pass a funding bill. Funding for certain government programs may run out soon. We get more from ABC's Jay O'Brien on one of them.
One of the most significant impacts of the ongoing government shutdown is looming over tens of millions of the poorest Americans, a delay in SNAP food assistance. Earlier this month, the acting administrator of SNAP said by the end of the month, the program won't have enough money if the shutdown continues. SNAP serves more than 42 million low-income Americans. And now major states, including Texas and Pennsylvania, saying that come November 1st, if the shutdown persists, they will not be distributing SNAP food assistance benefits. Jay O'Brien, ABC News, the Capitol.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
talk about it on air.
11:06. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Big thanks to Jeff Younger for coming in. That interview will be podcasted. Fantastic example of just strength and resolve from a guy like Jeff. Got another great guest in here. Josh Tifo is back. He's a senior director for Turning Point USA. And you have had a heck of a week. I mean, when we talked last, we're like, yeah, let's do this every Tuesday. And you're like, definitely, I'm in. You're like, except next Tuesday. Kind of have to go to the White House. So let's start there. What was it like at the Medal of Honor ceremony for Charlie?
So it was a somber, heavy occasion, but also it had a celebratory feel because Charlie accomplished more than anyone else in the conservative movement anywhere close to his age. The only person who did more for the overall conservative movement over the last 10 years was Donald Trump himself. And it makes sense to me that Charlie was essentially the biggest name in conservative politics other than Donald Trump the day he died. He obsessed over the idea that you could make it cool to be a young conservative in America.
And he did it.
That was the topic of his speech the day I met him at a Tea Party rally in 2014 in October. I think it was Columbus, Ohio.
Yep.
And he got up and gave this impassioned speech that you could make it cool to be a conservative. And he spoke about it like it was a foregone conclusion, like there was no question that we were going to do this. I mean, he was totally nuts. He saw a vision of the future and he just obsessed over it for 12, 13 years until it came to pass, thank God. But going back to DC, just seeing the titans of our movement all come together to mourn him, but also celebrate him, to see the way that Erica spoke about him, to see the way that the president spoke about him. I mean, I've been saying ever since the day he died that he was the greatest man of my generation. And it's more than that. He was one of the greatest men in the world. You look at what he did for our country politically, but you look at also what he did for the global faith community over the past couple of years. He was one of the greatest men in the world.
Oh, and I mean, you think about what he was able to do in places like England, and platforming guys that are fighting for their freedom and being locked up for it, like Tommy Robinson, or going out there and, the Oxford debates, we saw that, like saying things that he could get away with as an American that would get you a knock at the door if you're a British citizen.
And you're right, those people were thrilled that they had someone to speak for them. There's a reason why so many young Americans loved Charlie Kirk and had such a visceral emotional reaction to his assassination. It's because he was a big part of their life. He almost felt like family to them. Imagine what it was like for somebody in another country who literally would go to jail for speaking, and Charlie Kirk made the time to fly over there and speak for them.
Yep.
I'm sure they had a very similar reaction.
Yeah. Oh,
I love those Oxford and Cambridge debates. I'm so glad he made time for that. He was so busy. I don't know how he pulled off those trips, but those are the type of clips we're going to watch in 50 years.
Oh, the best one is he says, the woman goes, Donald Trump is deporting American citizens. He goes, I'll give you 10,000 pounds if you can name the American citizen. She goes, Kilmar, wrong. Wrong. Anybody else? 10,000 pounds. No? And it's like, yeah, exactly.
I find it so funny that Biden spent all of these years, and he wasn't writing the speeches, he didn't even know what he was saying that, there's no way that we can stop all these illegals coming in on the southern border. And now for many months in a row, we have quite literally zero who have entered. The only thing that was missing was the political will to stop people from entering the country illegally.
Okay, let me ask you this then, because I was looking at numbers, and DHS is touting 480,000 illegal aliens arrested, and I'm just like, I feel like we got to get those numbers up.
So here's the number one reason why the numbers aren't up already, and it's a good thing, because we have so openly advertised that we will pick you up and ship you back to some country you do not want to spend time in. A ton of these people, more than we can even calculate, have self-deported, including a lot of bad actors. And that's the reason why Trump is a genius for alligator Alcatraz and a lot of these things the left has called publicity stunts. That is a telegraph to any bad actor in the country who is an illegal alien. Wow, you know what? I should probably go to another country and continue my small-time drug operation.
Yeah, I mean, it is important to point out, while DHS is saying 480,000 arrests, they're also saying around 2 million self-deportations.
And that's just what they know about. There's probably a lot more than that.
I could imagine that. We're talking with Josh Tifo. He's a senior director for Turning Point USA. You have been all over the country. You just got back from dystopian New Jersey. Tell me about New
I had
Jersey.
a wild time in New York and New Jersey this weekend. So I land in New York, and I used to do a lot in New York, so I've been going back and forth there for the last 10 years. And I've watched the societal decline of what used to be one of the greatest cities in the world, and it's wild. You just see the countenance of people who are walking around. So many people are sad. So many people smell like weed. So many people are dressed very poorly. So many people just don't treat you well. It's a depressing place because the soul of the city has been crushed. And it makes sense why Mamdani is rising, because people are doing really poorly. You look at a lot of nations which have embraced full-on socialism. There was something that broke them before that, and then socialism was kind of the final step off the cliff, which kind of put them in a long-term situation where things got even worse economically. People who are doing well in life don't entertain somebody like Mamdani. People who are building marriages, people who are building families, people who are building businesses, they scoff at that, they laugh at that. So the viability of his candidacy is actually a condemnation on culture in New York. But going back to my trip, that was the first thing that struck me as I was just walking around in New York. And then I spoke at a dinner in New Jersey. So just walking around in New Jersey, not everybody, but most people just seemed really sad. And it breaks my heart that there are parts of the country that are like that. Also, another thing that really struck me in both New York and New Jersey, how many people were walking around in full-on head-to-toe Islamic garb. That was very interesting to me. It felt like I was in a second-tier Muslim nation. But I will say, when I went to the dinner, which was with a bunch of very faith-centered, successful Christian business people, it was the complete opposite. Like some of the coolest people I've met in the whole country. It was essentially the conservative business owners who didn't flee New Jersey over the last 5 years as everything got crazy. And they were ready to fight. And it was just this vivacious, amazing, wonderful crowd. One of my favorite dinners I've ever spoken at. But then again, I step out of the dinner and I go back into this culture where the left has just crushed the spirit of those states. And it's very sad.
And can you blame these guys for fleeing these states? I mean, I was watching a video last night, and it was like, if you're making $1.5 million and you live in New York City, right? $1.5 million a year, 700,000 of that is out the door to taxes. $700,000. That's insane. Why would you want to stay in a place that's taking half of your paycheck like that?
And the tax situation is nuts, but it's more than that. I mean, don't you want to live in a city where your kids can walk around on the street? Yep. It also makes me think of when I was in D.C. last week for the events at the White House. The first thing that struck me was that I saw all kinds of families walking around Washington, D.C., which I had not seen in years. It's because Trump cleaned it up.
Yep.
They still have a little bit of work to do, but I really credit Donald Trump for cleaning up D.C.
Yeah, God bless him for doing it. Do you think after your time in New Jersey that Chitterelli has a chance at governor?
He has a shot. New Jersey's going to be tough, and we have a lot of amazing activists on our political side who are doing a lot of work to try to make that happen right now. If there's ever a chance to swing New Jersey, it's going to be this cycle. People are extremely fed up. But it's not in the bag. It's going to be very, very tight.
Who do you think has a better chance of winning? Would Chitterelli in New Jersey have a better chance, or Winsome Sears in Virginia?
They both have a shot, but my money would be on Jack. They're both very tough races, but Jack is a fighter, and now is a time when fighters are going to have a chance, especially with working class America. And I give Donald Trump the credit for waking up working class America. And that's one thing that must turn into an overall GOP strength and not just a Donald Trump strength. Before Donald Trump, there were millions and millions and millions of working class Americans who felt that they were completely unrepresented in the political system. And they weren't being dramatic. These people were completely unrepresented in the political system before Donald Trump. The Republicans didn't really care about them. The Democrats didn't really care about them. Most people kind of looked down on them. And that was part of an overall societal thing. We look down on people who worked with their hands, which is completely insane.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
And Donald Trump spoke for them, and he earned their vote. And that was really the secret. That and the youth vote spike were the two reasons why we performed so well in the blue wall states. And that's exactly why we have a lot of infrastructure building to do if we hope to hold the blue wall states post-Trump. There's not going to be some steel worker who shows up for the first election of his life for anybody other than Donald Trump. I love J.D. Vance. I love Marco Rubio. They're amazing candidates. You're not talking about a larger-than-life celebrity who was on The Apprentice, who was Mar-a-Lago was raided.
Yeah, I mean, we can love J.D. Vance, but he's not a cultural figure in the same way.
Although I will say J.D. Vance has an extraordinary intellectual depth that I believe can charm and win over and unite the nation. Donald Trump was the sledgehammer, and he still needs to be the sledgehammer. There's a lot that still needs to be broken in D.C. and the world so that we can rebuild it. J.D. Vance is stepping into a historic generational opportunity. J.D. Vance has the opportunity to unite the country around eternal truths. That's something that Donald Trump could not do very well. That's not who he's supposed to be. That's not who he tries to be. He's not trying to unite the left and the right. He's trying to beat the left. And after that's been done, J.D. Vance has the opportunity to come in and unite the country and bring us into a new era.
I think he could do something like that. I mean, he understands the new American story better than any politician that we have out there right now, given his mother's battle with addiction, being in Ohio where NAFTA ruins your town, and then, rising up to the highest levels of the federal government. He is the American dream. I think that he could touch on a lot of things that many politicians don't. Back on the Virginia front, does it shock you with how polarized politics are in 2025 that you're seeing polling where Abigail Spanberger, the governor, the Democrat candidate for governor, is beating Winsome Sears, but then in the attorney general's race, you're seeing polling where the Republican attorney general, Jason Miyares, is beating the Democrat Jay Jones? Like, it shocks me in a sense where I thought that we were going to see Winsome Sears take that same lead that Miyares took after the Jay Jones text. How are you not voting down ticket in these states?
I think a lot of it is a reflection of the absurd amount of money that's being spent by the left in the governor's race. The problem is when civic engagement is low, which you see in really any type of race below a statewide race, and then oftentimes in special elections for statewide races because people aren't paying as much attention as they would in a midterm or a presidential election. Negative political advertising works really, really, really well. Fortunately for us, Jay Jones gave us the most priceless negative political advertising just because he's one of the dumbest people I've ever seen in American politics.
Yeah.
But in the governor's race, I hope we win. It's going to be tight. We could win that, and we could win New Jersey, but it's tough to get people to wake up and care enough to vote in a special election. It's one of the reasons why long-term Turning Point USA's job is to increase civic participation to such a level that all the political dynamics that I just talked about are a non-factor.
Yep.
If you think about how we won the 2024 election, it's actually wild when you zoom out and look at it in terms of history. We have this nation that people fought and bled and died for. Most of the richest businessmen in the country, not most, many of them, signed the Declaration of Independence, essentially their death warrant. You look at the cost to form America, it was insanely high. And now it is so tough to get most Americans to care about anything that's not a presidential or a statewide election in cycle. Think about how crazy that is. That's why the sweet spot for government corruption is actually federal House and state Senate, which unfortunately we see played out pretty frequently here in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
That's because the number of people voting is high enough. You can't just win it with outright grassroots hustle, and you can't just win it by knocking all the doors. But you also don't have statewide and nationwide narratives that can come into play and help a good candidate win, even if they're being drastically outspent, with the extreme example of that being Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton in 2016. The funding gap and the infrastructure gap in 2016 was as seismic as you will ever see in a presidential candidate, in a presidential election, and yet Donald Trump won because he had an overarching narrative that meant even more than that. He was the anti-politician when almost every politician I knew in 2016 was insufferable, and I didn't want to talk to them for longer than 30 seconds at an event because they were like looking past my shoulder to see if like a billionaire walked into the room. And they look at you and say like, oh, is he wearing a baseball hat? If so, I'll talk about baseball. I wonder if I need to do some test polling to figure out where I'm supposed to go on vacation.
Yeah.
So that whole spirit of just absurdity and fakeness was what politics was in 2016.
Well, it's like the movie The Campaign with Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis, where he had Zach Galifianakis had a Shih Tzu, and he's like, we got to get rid of the Chinese dogs aren't testing. They're not testing well at all. He's like, but we love our dogs. Like, no, you have golden labs now.
So we laugh about that, and that's a satirical thing in movies. That's 100% how the high-level consultant class works. And it works to an extent because, and I bring this all the way back, it's because civic participation is so low in America. And when that is the case, it's very easy for bad people to win. It's very easy to buy seats. It makes me think of a presentation Kevin McCarthy, of all people, gave at this donor event I attended, I think in 2018, with a bunch of the biggest donors in the country. And he gave this meticulous, statistically driven presentation on all these different races in 2018. And he's like, this is how we'll take this is how we'll keep the majority. And it was brilliant. His team did a very good job with that. And then at the end, he's like, but with all this strategy, whoever raises more money is going to win like 94, 95% of the time. So we need you to give a lot of money today. So all the strategy in the world doesn't work as well as just spending a bunch of money and mostly negative advertising against the other guy, because most people, they just don't care. We won the 2024 election because we went scorched earth, spending tens of millions of dollars on the Chase the Vote project.
Yep.
So the Chase the Vote project was essentially this crazy idea that we should throw the kitchen sink at selling people on Donald Trump who voted almost never, voted like one out of the last four
Low
election
propensity
cycles.
voters
And,
is what it was about.
and it wasn't just Donald Trump. We took a state-by-state approach. So it was pitching the whole slate down, Senate, Congress, which is why we were able to carry a lot of very close House seats in Arizona. And we took this high-level sales approach, almost like Mercedes would trying to sell you a GLE, where we're texting you and we know your kids' names and your dog's name, and we're inviting you to special events, and the whole thing is just like very over the top. I'd like to say that we're geniuses, but the Soros people have been doing it for decades, which is why they overperform in battleground states. So we did it. It was wildly successful. But think about that. We won an election by convincing people to barely care enough to vote for a president. And thank God that they did.
Amen.
And welcome to the party. And I'm sure some of you are listening and we love you. Welcome to the Republican Party. But we need to do better in this country. It needs to be an element of American pride and identity, that you have some idea what's going on politically in your local area, in your state, and in your nation.
Well, and I want to talk about that when we get back, because we're seeing Turning Point contributor Riley Gaines take that advice and put it into action. She is now an esteemed member of the Sumner County Library Board, which is a development I'm sure the rhinos did not see coming. So we'll talk about that when we get back. We got Josh Tifo in studio as a senior director for Turning Point USA. It's 11:23, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh, it's fantastic.
You like that? You like Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. It is spooky season. You don't want to get tricked when it comes to your home. We usually do bee puns for these commercials. It's Halloween, so there's going to be Halloween puns. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They're the crew that you can actually trust. When you call them, they won't ghost you. I warned you. Full disclosure. Here's the fun part. You can join the Beehive Club for free all month long. All you got to do, put the kids to work. Make them carve a pumpkin of Buzz the Bee. You throw it on social media, tag Busy Bee, and boom, you're in. You get to show off the kids' carving skills and snag some great perks. Now, for the real treats, you need HVAC service. You schedule that fall maintenance, you get free dryer vent cleaning. That's a $229 value. You got plumbing issues, any repair, they'll flush your water heater for free. That's a huge value. Your pipes will thank you. How about a new HVAC system? Well, this deal is scary good. Free 10-year parts, 5-year labor warranty. That's a $750 value with any system install. So don't let the home headaches haunt you. Call Busy Bee today, where the service is good. Savings are spooky good. 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833. BusyBeeHVAC.com.
Amazon Web Services says all issues have been resolved with its platform, and one of the most popular gaming platforms in the world is under new scrutiny here in the U.S. These stories at more at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. My name's Chris Cand. How are you? Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. In studio with a senior director for Turning Point USA, my friend Josh Tifo. What's up, Josh?
Going. Great to be back.
We're happy to have you. And you were talking earlier about how it's so important to get involved locally. Like, everybody has to. And we've been following this story in Sumner County with the library board, and Joanna Daniels has been on the show quite a few times, kicking up dust. And they eventually got tired of her being so loud about it, so they wanted to kick her off the library board. They succeeded in doing so last night. And they found themselves in a precarious position because they're mad at her for making so much noise about what's going on in Sumner County. And they got Joanna Daniels replaced on the board with Riley Gaines.
Yeah, congratulations, guys. You did a great job. You have total control now. The people will now no longer get involved in your business. I cannot say enough good things about Riley Gaines and the fighter she is.
Yes.
One important thing to remember is when she began fighting, so before Trump won, there was a very real chance that the Biden administration and then the Harris administration would use civil rights legislation and essentially extend it to talk about saying anything negative about LGBTQ, whatever other letters there are, people. And what she was doing could be a federal offense rather soon, and they could have locked her up. And she didn't care. So she wasn't one of these people who joined the fight after Trump won when they knew that nothing was really on the line and the tide was beginning to turn in culture. She was one of the first people to turn the tide in culture, along with another person who did a lot early on, and she deserves so much credit. She lives in Tennessee now, is Sage Steele.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. But Riley, I mean, I remember starting at Turning Point. It was like the week after, I think it was Berkeley or one of the colleges, but the Antifa shows up.
I think that was San Francisco
State University. You're right.
Amazing institution. The best.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Send all your kids there. So much fun.
They're breaking windows, and they're like, she's having to hide in the classroom with police officers.
Well, the police officers were hiding too, because, I mean, they were scared. They didn't want the mob to mess with them either.
And then she still persists, and she still continues. And now with a 3-week-old baby at home, she's like, hey, you know what? I'll also do this library board
I've
thing.
got some time. And Riley is amazing. Her husband, Louis, is amazing. He's a good friend of mine as well.
Great guy.
And they're just going to be warriors for our movement for many, many, many decades. And this is what happens when the left overreaches in culture.
Yep.
Riley wanted to be a dentist. And she's a great Christian conservative, elite swimmer, was swimming, winning awards, national titles, all that stuff, and was going to go to dental school. And the left made her who she is today.
Yes.
The left went psycho, and guess what? Now you're going to have to deal with her on the library board now, but I'm going to make a bold prediction here. Riley will be governor of Tennessee.
I think we can see that.
Not in the immediate future, but it's going to happen, and I'm going to help make it happen.
You want to talk about the governor's race when we get back?
Let's do it.
I'd love to get your opinion on where things stand. We have 3 candidates currently, Monty Fritz, John Rose, and Marsha Blackburn. We'll talk about the governor's race in Tennessee with Josh Tifo from Turning Point USA when we return. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yep. We'll just tell it like it is.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Amazon Web Services says all issues have been resolved with its platform that powers scores of websites, apps, and cloud-based internet storage. Small number of sites have reported trouble today, but it may have been a faulty domain name that caused the issues. ABC's Mike Domusky says web coding is not just being done by humans, it's also being done by AI, and stresses nothing is perfect.
Unfortunately, humans are imperfect, so is artificial intelligence. So there's always going to be some level of imperfection here. And in the same way that you occasionally come across a typo in a book or your order at Starbucks is wrong, there's also going to be problems in these codes.
One of the most popular gaming platforms in the world is under new scrutiny here in the U.S. ABC's Jem Ryan says criminal subpoenas have been sent to the legal department at Roblox.
Florida Attorney General James Othmeyer says his office has arrested more than 1,000 child predators this year, with many using Roblox to find victims.
Companies like Roblox have become breeding grounds for predators to get to and have access to our kids.
Othmeyer is demanding that Roblox turn over records related to its age verification and data collection process for its youngest users. Roblox insists that it has stepped up protections for children who play on the platform. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here, and I got to tell you about my friends over at the Glock Store. Love the guys at the Glock Store. Can you believe that it's almost the end of October already? The holidays sneaking up fast. And if you're thinking about throwing a party for your company, your crew, or just an excuse to get together, you should do it at the Glock Store. They have an incredible event space that can host from 10 people up to 100 people, plus your own private shooting room with a professional firearms instructor on hand. And yes, full auto options are available. You just tell me that that's not the most American Christmas party that you could ever have. It's Santa in camo with full auto. Like, it's unbelievable. Call the Glock Store retail showroom today. Get your party booked. These are going to fill up fast. 615-682-6565. You ask for the retail manager, or you can just swing by the store and see it for yourself, and they'll help with all the details, even the catering if you need it. But believe me, the dates are going to fill up fast, so get your spot locked in now. That's the Glock Store, 615-682-6565. Minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere. $11:36, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can listen to us anywhere, iHeart, TuneIn, the FM dial, Radio Classic. You can watch us. Super Talk TV is up and running on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, all the things. All the digital platforms have a share button. Help us grow the digital footprint of the radio station. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit share. We appreciate it. It literally helps me feed my kids. I got a lot of kids, so unless you want them just, soaking up that bread and water, hit like and hit subscribe. Josh Tifo's in studio. You got some kids too.
Yeah, I got a few. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah, you have two now.
We have two, 4 and 1, and I got to go on a riff about this. So many men our age miss out on one of the greatest joys in life, which is getting married and having kids.
Yep.
So if you're one of those guys and you're living in a Nashville high-rise and the joy of your life is going out and getting drunk on Broadway on the weekend, there's a better life.
Yep.
Find
100%.
a beautiful woman and lay it out on the line. Actually ask her out in person. Don't do it on text. She might even say yes. and have some kids. You'll have a lot of fun. You may not sleep as much, but you will have so much meaning and joy in your life.
100%. Choose your hard, man, and it is worth it. We got baseball playoffs tonight. My 8-year-old is playing catcher. He's a lefty, and he's like, Dad, there hasn't been a lefty catcher in the majors since '83. He's like, it's going to be me. I was like, let's go. I was like, I love the goals, man. I love the goals. We were talking before the break about the governor's race. How do you see the governor's race shaping up? 3 candidates, Monty Fritz, John Rose, Marsha Blackburn. I mean, if I'm giving it my honest opinion, as much as I think that they're all great people, Monty and John have a tremendous uphill battle to win this thing.
They do. I don't know Monty, but I've heard positive things about him. I've known Congressman Rose for a while. He's actually my congressman. He's done a rock solid job in Congress. But I've known Marsha for a number of years. She's spoken at Turning Point events throughout the years, the first being back in 2019. So she's always gone out of her way to speak to our students. I appreciate that. But for me, I don't really give those things weight when I decide who I want to support. I just want to look at who has been the most conservative and how they've voted. That's why I love when there are multiple people running who have long records that I can evaluate. And the Turning Point Action scorecard is extraordinary. We have a great team at our headquarters who actually picks apart every individual vote in Congress and says whether or not they made the right call according to the grassroots constitutional conservative position.
And you can find that at tpaction.
tpaction.com/scorecard. John Rose has an amazing rating, and Senator Blackburn has an even better rating. She has one of the best voting records, according to us, in the modern history of the U.S. Senate. So when somebody like that runs, it surprises me that there are people in the grassroots who are jumping to oppose her. Just because somebody you don't like is supporting a major candidate doesn't mean that all of a sudden this person is a member of the establishment. So forget about all that. We need to zoom back and look and say who has been the most conservative representative of the people they're responsible for. And to me, that's Senator Blackburn.
I mean, there's a couple things. First, you can't argue with the fact that Senator Blackburn and the late Phil Valentine from this radio station are part of the huge reason why we don't have a state income tax in Tennessee, which is unbelievable and amazing. This audience hangs on to the fact that she voted to certify the 2020 election, and people have not forgotten about that 5 years later, still very, very upset. What would your response be to that?
So that's not how I would have handled it. That's how almost every really conservative senator handled it. So what I'm saying is she missed that call, but almost everyone else missed that call. And if I remember correctly, in early February, so basically weeks later, she was defending Donald Trump in that whole impeachment hoax. So yes, she did something that I would not have done, but she was on the right side of that issue very quickly. And just to provide reference there, even going into mid to late 2023, there were a lot of political heavyweights, big donors, big elected officials who were putting tons of pressure on us behind the scenes to abandon anything to do with Donald Trump. And she was standing by him. So for me, you just have to, again, I try to strip away any type of personal relationship I have with John and Marsha, and I know both of them pretty well, and they're both great people. And I just have to look at what have they accomplished and what can they bring to the table. And to me, if one of the most conservative senators in the country, who, by the way, everybody here pretty universally loved when she asked the what is a woman question. Like, it's like everybody forgot about that in the grassroots out of nowhere. We just have to look at who has done a better job up to this point, and you have somebody who's done good, and you have somebody who's done great.
Yep.
And are we going to try to box somebody out of our movement because they did one thing wrong? I mean, we wouldn't have Donald Trump in our movement. He has been near perfect, and he's been the greatest president of the modern era. But I don't agree with everything that he's done. I don't agree with what he did with the COVID vaccines.
Yep, I'm with you.
But he's batting .990, and that makes him one of the greatest presidents, not just in the history of the country, but one of the greatest leaders of human beings in world history. When you look at the world order that his 2 presidencies have staved off, are we going to just say, I'm not going to do anything with Donald Trump because he did this one thing that I really didn't like 5 years ago? Like, who on earth are we? That's a pretty arrogant thing. I'm glad that people in my life don't try to excommunicate me because 4 or 5 years ago I did something dumb.
No, that's a great point. It does seem like it's a preconceived notion that she's going to be the Republican nominee.
Unless something really crazy happens, I think that's going to happen. And that's because she has earned the trust of the business community, and she's earned the trust of most of the grassroots. And by the end of this election, I think it's going to be near all of the grassroots. So I've got a question for you, Chris. I want to understand, why has there been so much early grassroots opposition to her candidacy, given her voting record?
I think the one thing that this audience has hung on to is the certification of the election. They felt like that was a backstabbing move. And I lean more towards you. I think Marsha's great. Every time I've spoken to her, she's been really sweet and really awesome and open about everything. But I don't think there's ever been that big explanation from her. It was just kind of a, let's move on and let's forget about that.
And I agree. I think that something like that would make things even better within the grassroots. I agree.
Yeah, I think that and it's almost too late now. Do you know what I mean? Like you'd almost be opening an old can of worms to do that today.
And that's probably the logic there. For me, I care about what Tennessee is going to look like from 2026 to 2030. And I don't care if it's a friend of mine or not who's running the state. I don't care if they're a man or a woman. I don't care what they did in the distant past. I care about their record because I want to know what they really stand for. I don't care about speeches. I care about votes.
Yep.
But to me, I absolutely love Tennessee. This is where my family is living and plans to live for a very long time.
Same.
And I want this to be an amazing place. And I'll go back to my story about spending some time in New York and New Jersey this weekend. I don't want Tennessee to end up like that. I don't want us to have a huge population influx. The church doesn't do a good job of reaching them. The conservative movement doesn't do a good job of reaching them. We import all these people from the third world. All of a sudden, we're voting local politicians who are raising taxes. We lose control of our library boards and our school boards. And then 20 years down the road, we're another cautionary tale with people walking around from a third world country. And that sounds like a dramatic story. That's where Tennessee is in 20 years if we're not making the right calls right now.
No, you're absolutely right. And it does seem like, we have people coming in from California every day and they're getting involved. People like Joanna Daniels. And she goes, I thought I was moving to this super conservative, conservative supermajority state. And I can't even get a vote. I can't even get people to show up and hold quorum. How do we fight those battles? Because I think that the governor's race, as much as some of the audience would grit their teeth and bear it, they'll vote for Marsha Blackburn over a Democrat. And I think it's kind of settled, to be perfectly honest with you. And maybe I'm making it more simple than it needs to be. But the battles are going to wage on. How do we get involved and how do we fight? Especially from somebody like you who's so in tune on those grassroots issues and a bit higher up as well.
So number one, what she was doing is the perfect blueprint for almost everybody, which is get hyper involved at the local level. If parents are very involved on library boards and school boards and commission races, and that happens in every community, then it's very, very tough for statewide and national level politicians to mess with you if that's happening all over the place all the time and it's being broadcast online. But also, I want to go on a sidebar about all these California move-ins, because I remember when it happened. I moved here beginning of 2019 from West Palm Beach, Florida. So I didn't really get too much hate because they're like, oh, it's from Florida. He's probably good.
But we'll give you a pass.
All these people were wearing the shirts and the hats saying, don't California, my Tennessee. And all these people I knew were going on rants like, oh, these California people are coming and we're going to be a blue state by 2022. It's going to be a mess. And then I actually got to know these people. And almost every California move-in I know across the entire state is like one of the most based people I know.
They're because more hardcore than
they're
some
more
of the others.
hardcore than most of the Tennesseans I know. And I know a lot of great Tennesseans. But that taught me a big thing about the presuppositions that we have going into relationships with people from different backgrounds. I was essentially stepping into those relationships thinking like, oh, this person isn't on my team. Turns out some of the Californians who moved in have been the biggest allies of the grassroots in Tennessee over the last 6-7 years because they're the most passionate. Think about it. They fled California because they knew that if they kept their fourth grader in that school in LA, that they were going to learn about trans stuff, and some leftist nonprofit could come and give them gender blockers without them even knowing. So they're like, all right, we can't even make a plan. Like, we're going to leave in a week. We're going to rent in Nashville until we can find a house we buy.
We had Jeff Younger in here earlier last hour, and he went through a custody battle with his wife, and he lost custody of his 2 boys, and she's transing one of the kids. And he made the point, in California, if you or I went to a medical provider, say, the kid falls and breaks the arm, and they say, I'm transgender, or the doctor believes they're transgender, California can kidnap your kids. It's insane.
I mean, I'm a big fan of staying and fighting for the state that you're in if you can. But if you have kids, that's my one caveat, because what are you responsible for even more than the fate of your state, the fate of your own family? And that's why I respect so many of these California and Illinois and New York families who moved their family to Tennessee, oftentimes leaving great jobs, because they knew that eternally how much money you make is much, much, much less important than the way that you raise your kids.
Yep.
And you saw this Sodom and Gomorrah effect pretty frequently in these states where you had Christian parents and they were just continually swimming upstream trying to teach the truth to their kids. And at the end of the day, teaching your kids about Jesus, teaching your kids a love for the Word of God, that matters more than how much money you make at your New York law firm or how much money you make as a Hollywood executive. So if you're one of those move-ins, know that I respect you very much for the decision that you made.
Hey, it's not an easy decision, especially when you have young kids. I mean, to leave your support structure, to leave behind family, to then go somewhere where you don't have any of that, that's not an easy move at all. And I mean, I can tell you from experience moving down here, it's like, you have friends of like, oh, we're gonna leave them with mom and dad. And it's like, oh yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. It's a tough move. So back locally, what's a good starting place for somebody that wants to get involved?
A great starting place before you run for anything. Attend your local library board, school board, commission meetings, and at least find out what's going on. Learn who the real conservatives are. If you have specific questions about a situation like that in Tennessee, actually shoot me an email, josh@tpaction.com, and I would love to direct you to the right person there 100%. But the very first step would be attend and figure out what on earth is happening, and then you'll learn how you should fight, who you should support, do I need to run? And that engagement is usually the length of involvement that you'll need, and sometimes you'll need to run, and that's going to be a big time commitment. But at the end of the day, I mean, like you were talking about earlier, how it's hard to have kids, but it's so rewarding and it's so fun. Do you want to play more golf, or do you want to do something that's going to ensure that fourth graders at your kid's school aren't taught to be trans? Like,
or stepping over a litter box.
Yeah, what type of weight and power do you want to live your life with?
Yeah, I completely agree. Josh Tifo is in studio. How can we keep up with you? Where are you on social media?
At Josh Tifo on all platforms. And I'll spell the last name just so you get it. At Josh Tifo, THIFAULT.
Josh is going to be in here with us every Tuesday at 11 o'clock. We appreciate your insight. And Josh is going to be bringing the heat. You're getting ready.
I'm bringing the heat. I love it.
Josh has been like, I'm ramping up. Gloves are off. So I'm here for it. Thanks for your time, man. I appreciate you as always. It's 11:50. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That was great. Thank
you. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends over at Cabinet Makeovers. If you want to invest in your home, you don't want to just pick any company. You want to pick the best. You want to pick Cabinet Makeovers. I'll tell you a little story. Dan owns Cabinet Makeovers, and they've been doing it for like 45 years, decades of experience. But Mr. Dan came into my house, and they were installing brand new pull-out cabinets, which I'll tell you about in a second. They're awesome. But the best part about it wasn't even the cabinets. It was that Dan let this turn into a homeschool lesson for my kids. Mr. Dan was telling them what he's doing, why he's doing it. This is a Phillips head. This is a flathead. Here, come turn the screwdriver, and let's talk a little bit about Jesus. This is the kind of company that you're inviting into your home. That makes a huge difference. The cabinets are also really nice. I mean, everything they did was Tennessee made. Every cabinet, pull-out drawer, all wood construction, full extension, soft close glides. The craftsmanship is top-notch. I could sing their praises about the cabinets, the whole commercial, but I think that's almost secondary to how great of a guy Dan and his team are. They're unbelievable. But the kitchen is fantastic. My wife is floating around it. It was the perfect investment that we could make in our house, and it's the perfect investment that you can make in yours as well. Give them a call today. Do what I did, 615-331-7010. They don't just stop at cabinets. They do custom closets, pantries, cabinetry for every room in your house. Give them a call. They can do something for you. 615-331-7010, or find pictures of their work online, cabinetmakeoverstn.com.
Looks like the Trump-Putin summit is off. Vice President Vance, White House envoy Steve Witkoff, and negotiator Jared Kushner are in southern Israel today talking to Israelis about the ceasefire that's holding on by a thread. These stories and more at noon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Don't push the koosh, you know?
The koosh.
Chad Benson's in the studio. My name's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Ken Weaver's crushing it in the newsroom. King Louie's been crushing it, producing all day. Great job to King Louie. What do you got? What are you focusing on today?
Oh, man, we got so much Hot Take Tuesday. We got some hot takes. We're going to talk about Taco Bell's marathon. Pretty excited about that.
Taco Bell's marathon?
Taco Bell's got a marathon. So be prepared, people. This thing's going to be awesome. And I'm thinking we might compete in it. So be prepared, Bell, to run.
The Taco Bell marathon.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be awesome, dude.
Is it just like a regular marathon that's now being sponsored by Taco Bell?
No. It is a special marathon where you have to eat Taco Bell the entire time as you run.
Really?
Spectacular.
I could get behind that.
I'm thinking the same thing. Now, that's America.
I love it.
Cheesy American food that happens to be kind of Mexican.
We lived in Pittsburgh for a couple of years, and there was the Pittsburgh downtown marathon.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's like, this is when I felt like a true Pittsburgher for a brief moment. Everybody's like, oh, because we were in like the heart of downtown. They're like, you can't get out during the marathon. There's no way. And I remember looking at my wife. I'm like, I'm going to find a way to get us out of Pittsburgh in the middle of this marathon. And we did it. And it was one of my greatest accomplishments as a husband and a father to get us out of that city while the marathon was going on.
Oh, marathons are the worst.
It's bananas.
It is. So, yeah, and that's like one of those, especially like if you live in a place like Texas or California where they built out and not everything's centralized, having people run in a downtown and you're in the downtown area is different than if you got 12 lanes of highway and they just move you to, those people to 2 lanes and the rest of it's all yours.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, you're stuck. And one way, because I've been stuck in the London Marathon. It's awful.
Oh.
It's horrible. First of all, why?
And the accents.
And the accents, yeah. There's accents for all over the place. No English accents, but regular.
Not a fan. Not a fan. I want to hear more about the Taco Bell marathon.
Oh, I'm super excited.
Are we talking just like soft tacos? Are we going Doritos Los tacos?
No, they got a whole thing planned out.
Crunch wrap.
Oh yeah, this is a whole thing. So I'm pretty excited about it. I'm starting to get my stretch on right now.
Now I'm hungry. I just have to remind myself that it's made with real horse meat, and then I'll back off.
That's all right. And look, I don't need to know how they make the horse meat sausage. What would you talk about?
We had Jeff Younger on. That's going to be podcasted as well. He lost his custody battle with his wife.
I saw him.
And
Texas, right?
Yeah, he lost it in Texas, and then his wife took the kids to California, and now they're transing one of his twin boys against his will. That was an unbelievable interview. And then we had Josh Tifo in here. From Turning Point.
He let him in. He didn't look like he was going to do anything horrible to people.
I got nervous. I'm like wrapping up my interview with Jeff, and Josh is like, I'm here. So like I ran down to let him in. I'm like, well, where did Josh go? And then I find out Chad's letting people in unauthorized in the building.
I always tell everybody, if you look like you're going to do something horrible, just remember I was the nice guy that let you in.
Chad's in next. It's 12 o'clock. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.